Hello guys, my name is Mark from jazzguitarlessons.net and welcome to your introduction to rhythm changes for jazz guitar. What we'll accomplish today is basically, I'll give you some tips and helpful techniques to deal with improv on this form because it's very challenging. There's a sheet music PDF along with a blog post. The blog post has slightly more info on it for, to decipher what we'll be doing. Please refer to the timestamps in the description here or on the blog so you can jump around and see what you'd like to learn. I will give you a little bit of an introduction now, so the playing will happen maybe at 2 or 3 minutes in the video. So number one, this is not a complete guide to rhythm changes, but rather an introduction. A lot of intermediate beginners and intermediate players in jazz have difficulty with that form because you see a whole bunch of chords and like, wow, how can I play this? How can I improvise over this? And then how can I, improvise well at 300 BPM? It's very difficult. So this is what we want to do today. Is just expand upon what you know. I'm not going to give you a bunch of licks to practice. Rather, I'm going to show you ways to think about the chords and to simplify the chords so you can improvise lines, blues lines, and things you already know. You can plug them in the rhythm changes. And we'll do it at a tempo that's friendly here, like 144. It's pretty tame, and we'll have fun. So, a bit of an introduction. What is the rhythm changes? In a few words, we refer to rhythm changes in describing this form that is 32 bars, AABA. And we say rhythm changes because it's from the song I Got Rhythm. There's another historical origin to this, which I won't go into right now, but basically it's a 1-6-2-5 that's glorified through a song form. We say AABA because we have 4 sections of 8 bars, and the A's are all the same. So A are the same kind of with a different ending, then the B section, then the A section. As I was saying, a known song is, of course, I Got Rhythm. In the popular TV things, we have the Flintstones, da, 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 right, this song. And we have on the blog a list of tunes you should check out, like Anthropology is a good one, Cottontail, the Oleo. There's a whole list. There's also this Abersold book, I think it's volume 47. I'll refer it in the blog and description, where you can get a list like of 50 great tunes. All right, so moving on, the form is AABA, and in a way it matters, or rather mattered, as much as the blues in terms of jam sessions and tunes written on top of it. It's one of the forms that, same as playing a blues, say whatever head you play on it, whatever melody, it's still a blues form. Well, rhythm changes are pretty much like that. A lot of bebop heads have been written on top of rhythm changes. However, that's why I said mattered, because as a player that came up in the early 2000s, I have played jam session rhythm changes at like really too fast at 3 a.m., this type of jam. But at the same time, it's not as relevant in today's music, I find, but it's a great piece of study because if you can improvise on blues and rhythm changes and standards, you can improvise on anything. So musicians in the 50s and 60s would use this rhythm changes form, and it would be as commonplace as whatever. And the reason why it's challenging, lastly, is because, well, the tempo is typically fast, and there's 2 chords per bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 chords that pass by. So to nail this, to have your improvisation be relevant to the chord changes is really challenging. And there are tiny variations upon the songs, whatever. All right, so have fun. This is the end of my official introduction. Use the timestamps below. And what I'm going to do first is have some theory, and then I'll walk you through the steps of the playing stuff that we have on the blog. All right, let's get going. Oh wow. Okay, now that I've adjusted my camera a little bit and coughed my heart out, we're going to look at some of the theory. So please see the attached PDF, and I'm going to put this put it on the screen as well. So one thing you have to know, it's played in the key of B flat typically. That's where rhythm changes. And that would be B flat, then G minor 7 is a 6 chord, then a 2 chord, C minor 7 to F7, or that's really how the form evolves. However, let me put this on the screen now. The form is a little tiny bit more modern than this. So we have the 1 chord going to the 6 chord, the G, going back to the C chord, the 2, and then the 5. And then in bar 3, over here, we have a D minor 7, going to G7, which is 3, 6, then 2, 5. Then we have a turnaround that goes F minor 7 to B flat 7. So this is actually a 2, 5 that's going to 4. E flat major is the 4 of that key, same as blues goes to 4, so this rhythm changes goes to 4. Then we have this chord, which is still in the cycle, A flat, which sometimes I call 4 minor. Actually, it's flat 7 dominant. And then we are going to do 3, 6, 2, 5, and go back to 1. And so that's it for the share screen. I just wanted to let you know that there are tiny variations, but this is the modern accepted version. And the second time around, so the second time the A section is played, and the last time, instead of doing 3, 6, 2, 5, we actually just do 2, 5, 1, and we're done. Now for the B section, which I'm going to put on the screen right here, the B section is actually just a cycle of dominant starting with the 3 chords. So it's 3, 7, dominant 7 during 2 bars, then 6, 7 during 2 bars, then 2, 7 during 2 bars, and 5. So 3, 6, 2, 5. There are a lot of variations on the bridge. You can put 2 5s in there. I'm going to stop the screen sharing now. 2 5 variations. There's a whole bunch of tritone subs you can do over there, but that's really the overview of it. Now, warning, we're going to jump into examples. Before you go, please do make sure that you see this as a whole. Same as you improvise on blues, you don't improvise chord by chord, you just kind of feel it and go with the flow. So this is what this lesson is all about. Before you play the examples, commit yourself to playing by feel, understanding the approach you're taking and not trying to see every chord. If you try to see every chord independently of one another, you're not going to be able to play beautiful lines and make sense in the long run. Notice two last things. Throughout the videos, you can always use whatever you know works. So that's why I didn't add constraints to you so that you have to use a particular scale in a particular area of your fretboard. You can figure out what mixolydian is, you can figure out what 1625 is and start applying it. I'd rather do this than see you mimic what I'm playing as a monkey. So be careful, just whatever you know works. If it sounds good to you, it works. And secondly, let's get playing. Let's do it. All right, ready? Let's see what we have for the first step. Okay, step 1 for learning rhythm changes, or for learning anything for that matter, you need a good song you will be able to play if you jam with your friends or go to a jam session. And the song I've chosen is We by Denzel Best, W-E-E, aka Allen's Alley. It's not a very well-known song, but I have the John Scofield version, which is very dear to my heart. And it's modern, it's from the 21st century, so check it out. Coming up is me, doing the demo of that song. It's very simple. Just check out the tabs and be mindful that the 8th bar of the A section, the first A, it has to resolve back to the 1 chord. It's not like 3, 6, 2, 5. It's like every A section resolves. That's similar to I Got Rhythm in that way. So it's a song that sort of fell out of favor, I guess, but it's so simple, and for an introduction to rhythm changes, rather than learning some Charlie Parker head like Moose to Mooch or Interpolation, this is a great place to start. Also, you will have noticed I have another lesson on YouTube and on the blog, which is called an introduction to bird blues, and we will do the same process. We'll pick a head, we'll start comping on it, and then we'll start improvising with different techniques on it, all right? So coming up is your demo video for the head, and I'll see you right after. Okay, welcome to step 2. So in step 2, we take comping with really basic chord shapes. After you kind of look at the form in the PDFs, like, okay, 32 bars, I sort of get it's AABA, you can start playing chords that you know. However, I've provided you with the basic, you see in the sheet it says basic comping, and the title's misaligned too. Sorry, I'm only human. There might be typos in PDF too, so if you find them, catch them, write me an email, mark@jazzguitarlessons.net. And through that, I just want to tell you that coming up is that demo where I will play these chords for you at a reasonable tempo. However, the sheet does not have any rhythms. They're all half notes. And what I did in the video, I started to swing and play things around a little bit to make it come to life a little more. So have fun with this basic comping, and I'll see you after. Welcome to step 3. So for rhythm changes in this third step, we'll be doing top string chords. So rather than going, playing chords like you know them, what we'll be doing is just aiming for chords inversions and stuff that lie on the top string. Of course, when you comp at a jam session or behind a sax solo, you don't need to say, okay, now I'm going to play chord with roots and then I'm going to switch to, you can mix and match. This is what I do in real life. I just wanted to give more advanced players a chance to see. So this chord would become this, and this G7 would become this, I don't know, or what, I don't even remember what I did in the PDF, but actually I've played it again, and same warning here, you have to be sure to add rhythm so it comes to life. This is just a bunch of half notes. It might sound good, but it doesn't swing unless you put rhythms to it. So have fun with this, the top string comping, and I will see you after, where we'll start to improvise in step 4. All right, ready to improvise, guys? So this is step 4, and this is actually where we start to solo, but using the simplest possible version of a soloing that I could think of. And you will have to refer to the blog here because you need to refer to the materials in terms of what scales and what chords we're thinking about. So here's the point, and this will go for throughout the rest of this video. The chord changes are played and you don't have to think about every single one of these chords while improvising. And that's the beauty of this. So what I want you to think about for the first 4 bars is actually 2 things. Number 1, this, then this. That's it. So 1, B flat 7, and F7, which is your 5 chord. So you're going to improvise 1 bar of 1. So you know how to improvise on a major chord, I'm sure. Then you're going to improvise 1 bar of 5. Then you could improvise 1 more bar of 1, then 1 bar of 5. And for bar 5, 6, 7, and 8, In bar 5, you're going to play B flat 7, so Mixolydian, and to E flat major 7, so the 4 chord, and then 1, 5, 1 again. And that's it. So this is so good, because I've seen people struggle with improvisation on rhythm changes, and I just tell them this. I'm like, well, just simplify it. Can you play 1, 5, 1, 5? Yeah, of course you can. You can play on B flat major 7, F7 all day, and you can just start to do that on the form, and it sounds really good. So I demonstrate this. Be mindful, I just started let myself go a little bit in the demo, so you can hear sort of how it sounds. Use a backing track yourself and see how you can manage to disregard which chords are playing and focus on that mental model that you built for your scales. Speaking of scales, this is the only time I will do it in the video, but for the first round in the form, I've actually played the scales. So I played a scale up to the 7th for B flat major and for F Mixolydian, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a great guide to sort of get away from thinking about the lead sheet and thinking of actually which chords you want to, which scales you want to think about during your lines. All right, so enjoy this step. You'll have the demo for step 4 now, and I'll see you right after. 1, 2, 3, Alright, welcome to step 5 for your improv on rhythm changes. So now I call this the intermediate level. So what we do basically in this step is every time we went 1, 5, 1, 5, we will transform the 5 into a 2, 5. So effectively what you think about, and I'm not doing the scales in the demo, you have to do this on your own. So I'm doing 1, 2, 5, 1. So you notice instead of doing 1, 6, 2, 5, we just do 1, 1, 2, 5, 1, 1, 2, 5. You can find this info on the blog post, of course. And then in bar 5, we're going to sit on B flat 7, so or B flat 13 here. We're going to go 4 major, flat 7 dominant, so that's an A flat 7, and then back to 1, and 2, 5, 1 again. It's pretty cool, but it's still about 50% less chords than you'd be confronted with a simple lead sheet at a jam session. So make sure you nail which scales you want to work on. You can hear my demo. Once again, sorry guys, sometimes I follow an idea and I let myself go, but I've managed to sort of try to and stay within that realm of improvising 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, etc. And I will see you next in our first interlude for this lesson. And then we'll tackle how to completely blow people's mind with your improv on the A sections. All right, have fun with the demo and I'll see you there. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, welcome to this little interlude on your rhythm changes lesson. So what I want to talk about is using blues scales. Yes, not a typo, blues scales, the two blues scales. If you're not familiar with this, of course you can take a look at the website. There is the blues scale that you will know for the B flat, that people know the pentatonic box, right? This guy. And then with the blue note. And however, this is the minor pentatonic for B flat, and there is this major pentatonic, right? It's here, so you just go 3 frets down, same shape. It sounds a little more country, sort of Motown-ish, like, you know the song, right? People know that song. So what you want to do is be sure that you can include blues scales within your rhythm changes improvisation without struggling too much. So once again, be careful with this because it's not a shortcut. You cannot come to a jam session, rhythm changes and go. You know, you cannot do, well, you can if you want, but it speaks to the kind of vocabulary you want to develop. So you still need to learn and spell the changes. So I will not demonstrate this in a video, but I have 3 suggestions that you can use. So you can, idea number 1 is you can end your idea with a blues line in either of these two, major or minor blues scales, or a mix of the two. Meaning that, say you improvise on your A section, which is 8 bars, and you can just play something, and towards the end of the A section, just go into a blues line and sort of disregard the chords and the arpeggios and whatnot. That's idea number 1. Idea number 2, you can do an entire 8 bars of blues stuff, but it has to be surrounded with somewhat of a more bebop approach, so where you really outline the chords. For instance, you go that's one, then go see, so my first 8 bars were sort of, I was really involved in the change. You heard me go probably you know, I'm really spelling the arpeggios, I'm really in the changes, and then I'm like, no, the hell with all this, I'm just gonna go and play blues lines. So you can do it for a long while, so long as you don't do it for a long while all the time. That's idea number 2. And idea number 3, you can be in and out of a blues scale, meaning that you start a line within a blues scale, you go into an arpeggio, something that's more change spelling, and then you fall back into a blues, or vice versa. Just, this is a little bit of an interlude because sometimes when guys learn jazz, they forget the power of that blues scales and the pentatonic and the whole soulful crunch you can get out of it. And it's good vocabulary. It's not bad vocabulary. It's very good to use it. Just be careful. It's like spice. You know, too much of anything, it does not necessarily work. All right, welcome to step 6 for your improv on the A section. So what we're going to do now, I call this, this is beyond the intermediate. It's much harder, and you can see the changes in the blog post. The changes I recommend you think about when you improvise for the first 4 bars are 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. However, your 6th chord is minor, so it's from a B flat to a G minor. So this, the G minor is so close, it contains, the G minor 7 contains your B flat major triad, so that you don't need to be so careful with it. If you just get lost within one or another, it will still sound good. You retain all the stuff from the previous steps, sorry. And in bar 5, we're going to do something cool now. We're going to actually think of your 2-5. So your F minor 7 and your B flat, we're going to think of it to land on the 4 and the flat 7. All right, that's the only difference. Now, that's the introduction of the 6th chord. Basically, that's the biggie in this step. We're getting much closer to actually thinking of all the chord changes within the rhythm changes. And I've put something on the blog also. Be mindful of that second to last bar of the A section for the first A section, where we have a 6 dominant, so it's a G7. This is what I want you to think about, the B natural note. This is the only note that is not in the key, sort of. And you see, there's a method to the madness. There's a reason why I waited until this point to tell you to add this, because in the next step we'll have a 6 pretty much every other bar. So you can watch a demo for step 6 right now, hear me improvise and with the ideas, and I will see you right after. Alright, welcome to interlude number 2. So now I wanted to talk about the 3 and the 6 in bar 3. So if you're playing rhythm changes, chances are you're going to start like this. 1, 6, 2, 5, then 3, 6, 2, 5. Notice how 3, 6 is actually a 2, 5, and 2, 5 is another 2, 5 that is down. So 3, 6 can actually be thought of as a secondary 2, 5 that is sort of pointing towards the C minor, the real 2, but it's we call this tonicization, basically. So you can treat this several ways. So if you play it as a pure D minor 9, then it becomes its own thing, if you will, because of the E natural. However, when you improvise, be mindful that you can also think of this guy as simply an inversion of your B flat. So in fact, you can treat 1, 6, 6 dominant, 2, 5. You can treat it the same way as 3, 6, 2, 5. It's basically the same thing, but be mindful, or it depends on the context, depends on what the accompaniment is playing. But remember, it's like the 3, 6 is another 2, 5. And that's just a whole step up from the actual 2, 5 of the song. And now let's go to your last improv step for the A section. Alright, welcome to step 7. So this is the real deal. This is the step that probably beginners and some intermediates will not get through. I'm just putting it out there, and I've improvised. I've had some fun on this one. I followed some ideas, and it's not like, to be honest, this is not my best playing, but this is, for educational purposes and whatnot. So we have the full spectrum of chords you find on the sheet, and I've even added a few substitutions. So what you have to be careful with is you start with a B flat major, then you go with a G7. It's that B natural note that's killing us. So there's tons of ways to go about it, but that's what's going to kill you in the long run. The fact that you have to go 1, 6 dominant, 2 and 5 and do it again and again and again. And I've added in the last 4 bars of the first A section, I've added for you to tackle 3, flat 3, 2, flat 2. So if you just play on these flat in between, a mixolydian, pure mixolydian, or a mixolydian sharp 11, if the accompaniment stays the same, you're going to wind up sounding like you play altered stuff, altered scales. Difficult, so please watch the video, take a step back, grab a coffee or popcorn, whatever. I've played 2 choruses on this one because I wanted to let the creative juices flow in a way that, if I start and I'm trying to demonstrate something, I go like this and I'm not sure how to do that. Actually, I need to relax into it, and then I can freely show you. It's kind of a supernatural thing. I don't know what it is, but only when I sort of let it go personally of the control can I start to demonstrate these things. But it's ephemer, I guess. It doesn't last a long time. So first chorus is sort of me warming up, then second chorus I just do my thing, I go balls to the wall. And remember, this has been a challenge or so to film because this is way too slow. This is 144, and the actual rhythm changes we would play at 220, 240 and plus. So it's been an adjustment period for me to shoot this. In any case, have fun with this. I'll see you after for the third interlude, and we'll start improvising on the B section. We're not even done, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, welcome to interlude number 3. So now that we've covered in your rhythm changes all these ways to tackle the A section, you're going to notice these can really get you out of trouble. So especially the beginner stuff like thinking of 1 and 5 and 1 and 5. If the tempos get too brisk, this is really what you ought to do just to save your skin, to save your life. So now let's go to interlude number 3. What I want to talk here, I want to revisit your A section using passing diminished chords. And this is done sometimes, it's done sometimes by the accompaniment, it's done sometimes by the soloist. It's fun because there's an ascending way to do it. So let's just review that. Say you have your first chord that's a B flat or a B flat 6 or B flat major 7. Your second chord would be G minor. One way to go between B flat 6 and C minor is just to play a B natural. So, right? And that's ascending from B flat to B natural diminished 7 to C minor. And then you can go to C sharp minor 7. C sharp, did I say minor 7? No, diminished 7. Sorry guys. Diminished 7 into the D minor. So, this has been known to be played, so you can ascend from 1 all the way up to 3, which is your D minor. You can play it here also, you can go. Alright, so that's the first passing diminish, and the other passing diminish I wanted to discuss is after you do your 2-5 to 4, so F minor 7 to B flat 7 to E flat major, people will play an E natural diminish here to go and play that. You can see in the chart, in fact, I'm just going to browse it. I think you see it in we. Yes, you do. So bar 6, guys, you have an E flat, then you have an E diminished, E natural diminished 7, all the way to, actually they say B flat 6 over F, so which is making a lot of sense. So some songs are specifically using certain substitutions with the diminished chords. Some other songs do it other ways, but this is, I just wanted to mention it in passing. Passing diminish. Thank you. Thank you. I need someone to comment on the video, say, good one, Mark. Thanks for the joke. So that's it for interlude number 3, and now let's see how we can improvise on the B sections. All right, welcome to step 8. So we've made our way through the A sections, all these little tips. These did I devise 4 different ways to improvise over the A sections. Now step 8 is to start improvising basic stuff over your B section. So your 4 chords are D7, G7, and C7 and F, so D, G, C, F. And what I recommend you do at first is really play the scales. Up to the 7, don't go... Well, everyone knows you know your scales, but just play them in time, pretty much as we've done with the step where we played 1, 5, 1, 5, 1 for the A section, so go 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. It doesn't really matter the fingerings you use, but this acts as your template, and it shows you can play Mixolydian scales in a perfect cycle of 4/4 during 3 chords. And then start improvising on this a little bit. I've done this in the following demo, so check it out, play along with it a little bit, and I'll see you in the next step. Just scales. Improvise now. Alright, let's go for step 9, which is 2-5-1 interpolation over the B section, so the chords of the B section. So instead of playing D7 for 2 bars and G7, etc., so what you do is every time you get this dominant chord that's sitting on its own, by itself, you play the 2 chord that would be there should this had been verb tenses. I'm francophone, guys, you know I speak French, right? You probably hear it all the time. So play A minor 7, D7 instead of a plain D7. So why A minor 7? It's because it's that related to. If you had considered D7 as a 5 of something, then A minor 7 is the 2 of that. So it doesn't change anything because you're going to say, Mark, yes, but A minor Dorian is the same scale as D, Mixolydian is the same scale as G major. Yes, it is, absolutely. But what I'm giving you is tools so you can improvise instead of just thinking, I have this D7. And this is all you know how to do on it. Now you're like, well, you can think of A minor 7 and go... Like you can make it a little more refined in about thinking the other 2. So goes without saying, it's A minor 7, D7, D minor 7, G7, G minor 7, C7, C minor 7, F7, and the effect can be interesting, and we call this 2-5 interpolation. So watch for the demo coming up next, and I will see you in our very last step. Just scales. Let's improvise now. Alright, here's our 10th step for this video. This is actually how to make the B section more hyper. If you're tired of playing, you know, that Mixolydian or that Dorian, you can start to play altered notes on the dominant chords, and you can do this at will, basically, because it's just like a chord that's sitting there for 2 bars. So in the following demo, I will do 3 steps, and I'm gonna share this with you a tiny bit, just go how it works actually. So number 1 is one idea of playing Mixolydian sharp 11. This is just a tiny step further than Mixolydian. So you take this, step up my leg here, okay, here. And you raise the 4th, so 1, 2. Again. Do this for all your scales. On C, same thing. And on F, same thing. Did I do this right? My ears are playing tricks on me. So just doing that can really, it gives a sort of a spicy edge to your improv. First step. Second step that I do in the demo is altered scales. So if you want to play D D7 altered chord, what you need to do is look a half step up and play melodic minor. So in this case, it would be E flat melodic minor. So it sounds like this. That's the scale. If this is beyond your comprehension, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tip. First, there's a ultimate guide to dominant chords, something like that, on jazzguitarlessons.net. Go check it out. Second tip is, if you want a D7 altered, actually go and play an A flat 7, which is a tritone away, and it's the same chord, and play A flat Mixolydian sharp 11. It's the same scale as E flat melodic minor. It is. Just trust me on this, or check out the resource on the website. All right. So if you do this for every chords, you're gonna do D7 altered, G7 altered, C7 altered, etc. So that's step 2. Step 1 being just Mixolydian sharp 11. Step 2 being altered, like deeply altered. And step 3 is me going nuts, as always, and I'm just mixing and matching. Just see what comes out. Do you feel like using this or that? Follow the idea, and there are no wrong notes, because at this point you play such a colorful chromatic mix of altered notes that it doesn't really matter which notes you play. It's more about like the energy you bring around that note. I know it's kind of esoteric and like, Mark, just teach me what to play. I'm like, yeah, I am actually. Just follow, trust your instincts, all right? So I'll see you after this demo for step 10, and then we'll conclude this lesson on rhythm changes. Mixolydian sharp 11. Altered scales. Mix and match. Alright guys, this is almost over. Thank you. If you've been sitting through this entire thing, you're brave, you're a warrior. Thank you for watching. So now I have a little favor to ask you. So if you have any questions or comments, whether you find this is good or this is total BS, just leave a comment on YouTube here. And if you like this lesson, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and let your friends and family know that you're following Jazz Guitar Lessons. Spread this on Facebook or whatever social media you use, or even by email or good old fax machine. You can just tell people, because this is the reason why I do this, to reach people, to help people with their jazz skills. Now in conclusion, so that's my favor. Yeah, that's a favor I ask. So comment on this, share it, and please do make sure to ask me questions, because I know this might be a half-hour video, but it's very difficult to cover everything. So when you comment and you share, it tells me what to do next, basically, on this YouTube channel. All right, so your further studies, this is a CODA of this video, musical term. If you want to study further, there's a neighbor sold called I Got Rhythm in All Keys. I think it's volume 47 on Abersold's publishing. This is basically a backing track stuff, but you will start with rhythm changes and go up a half step. So you're going to play each key. It's mind-blowing what it does to you when you think you understand a progression and you can improvise on it. And you're like, oh, let's move it a half step up, then you can't improvise on it. So this is highly recommended, volume 47. Also, I'm going to point you to this resource, which is a series of books, How to Play Bebop by David Baker. And there's 3, I have 3, there might be more, there's 1, 2, and 3. Very thorough. Volume 1 starts with this idea of bebop scale on a Mixolydian chord with a C7. Why I put volume 3 on top is because there's a technique for practicing. There's a whole list of rhythm changes tunes in there, by the way. He's pretty freaky about this. Was very involved in the bebop world, of course, David Baker. And then there's a method to study, sort of take bebop heads for rhythm changes that you know and link them together so that you play the first 4 bars of Anthropology and the next 4 bars of Olio, so phrase by phrase. Really powerful little method. So that's my second suggestion. Third, you can take a look at this guy. I talk about this on the website also, Barry Harris. This is from the Stone Ages. There's a DVD in it. If you're into bebop and you don't really know where to start, this is a simple way of getting in touch. And actually, David Baker's approach is distilled from Barry Harris's teachings, plural. So there's a lot about chords and stuff, lots of scales, diminished. And if you're into that genre and you want to master, how did Charlie Parker improvise on standards? How did they think about things? They certainly were not thinking 2-5-2-5, and they were not thinking all of the stuff that we've heard since the 70s and 80s and 90s. They were thinking of other things. That's your resource. And lastly, before I let you go, you know of this, I'm sure. This is also on Ebersold Publishing, by the way. I think it was written by Ebersold, Jamie Ebersold himself. And it's on... Is it on Ebersold Publishing? No. Hal Leonard. I don't know. Can't find it. And the point is, if you're really interested in bebop and learning rhythm changes, you will have to go through the painstaking process of learning moose to mooch, learning anthropology, and making it sound good on guitar. It's quite a task because I've done it in my youth. I was young and foolish. And this is a very difficult thing to do, but this is your omnibook. Every head and every solo is transcribed with recordings, with source from recordings. So really good resource. Other than that, I use iReal Pro. The backing tracks you've heard here are iReal Pro. You can really go at it with using the practice meter and starting at a tempo and making it increase tempo every chorus to practice playing fast rhythm changes. You can also change the keys. So I'm a big fan of this, going up a fourth and playing rhythm changes in all key. I've done this in my living room last week. I wouldn't do it on YouTube. So I was a bit ashamed because I'm not a jazz legend. So there's a lot of things you can do to, once you go back to your B flat rhythm changes, if you've played it in all keys and you struggled through all keys, you're going to go back to your B flat and you're going to sound better for sure. Okay, so I'll let you go. Please do subscribe to this channel. Please come and see me on the website. We're always happy to have you here. Leave a comment or contact me, mark@jazzguitarlessons.net. And I will see you soon on the website, jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. Take care, guys.